Calvert Croakley hopped and skipped while whistling a merry tune. He was on his way to the elder mother's cottage. She had invited him for tea. Under one arm, he had tucked a lily-pad purse full of her favourite greens, dandelion and nettles. In his pocket were a special treat, last year's hazelnuts. He had borrowed them from Dan's stash. They were friends, and he frequently borrowed from his friend's burrow. "I wonder if I am the only guest and it's a party just for me," he mused as he distractedly lent an ear to a songbird's. "She must like me a lot. After all, I am pretty." "Oh, so pretty." Cal twirled on his webbed toes as if on cue. He couldn't help it. He patted one of his warts lovingly. He loved them so. Everyone knew that it was only because of his warts that he is considered the most beautiful creature at Jellicles farm. And if anyone was ignorant of this very important fact, Calvert Croakley was very prompt to update their general knowledge. Cal, as he was known to the other denizens of Jellicles farm, had a soft heart under his thick skin. How he pitied the other wartless creatures, cursed with such ugliness. He shuddered as if to shake off the image of the other's wartless ugliness. He had to, or it may haunt his dreams. Tsk, tsk. He paused for a moment and stuck his tongue out as he was washed with compassion for his ugly friends. Life wasn't always fair to all. Cal gathered himself and his emotions. One must always look at the bright side of life, he told himself. He whipped out the polished spoon mirror his saintly mother fashioned just for him. "And the bright side is me," he preened and flashed a smile at his reflection. Nobody could accuse Cal of dull spirits. The cottage looked inviting. The merry little warty toad wore a grin on his face as he quickly smoothed his head and warts. He fluffed the gift package for elder mother and knocked on the door thrice. Knock, knock, knock. "Who's there?" Elder mother's voice wafted out. "It's me, Mama, Cal." He pushed the door and trotted inside. As he stepped inside, he was enveloped by a delicious aroma. Wait, don't tell me. I want to guess." He made a big show of closing his eyes with his webbed paws and balanced himself on his toes. "Rosemary shortbread, lavender tea, and strawberry jam." "Right!" Elder Mother clapped her hands. Cal beamed. All his favourites. Elder Mother must love him and his warts so much. And it wasn't even his birthday. Elder Mother hugged Cal and accepted his gift. She opened it and made the appropriate "oh" and "ah" sounds. Cal was thrilled. The elder mother's ginger cat viewed all this merriment and noise with his usual contempt and suspicion. The crone and the warty toad were talking excitedly and nodding as they exchanged stories and chatted and chatted and chatted. The cat must have dozed off because he was soon jerked rudely awake by a loud shrieking noise. "What? What? What?" The old Ginger Tom yelped and turned over with a paw over his eyes. He frowned at the sight in front of him and slid right back to his catnap. If he didn't slip back to his nap as any self-respecting feline is wont to do, he would have noticed that the shriek came from Cal. The table had only crumbs left, as the host and guest had polished off all the goodies. The toad was jumping up and down. He would have also noticed that Cal looked oddly different, as though he was only half-clothed. Cal would have also have seemed to be running in small and tight circles chasing himself. Poor Cal. He was beside himself. Distressed. He had just lost his warts, his pretty, pretty warts. The warts that made him so very special were gone. The wartless toad plopped himself on the floor and held his head in his webbed palms. "But, Mama, what will I do now? You really made them go away." "Why?" he shrieked again, so loud that he was making the Ginger Tom twitch uncontrollably in his cat dreams. Elder Mother sighed. She picked up the distraught toad and sat him down on a chair. "Cal, you have to believe me. It is for your own sake. If I didn't, you wouldn't have any friends left. I had to make your warts disappear because I promised the others." "But why? 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 Why?" Cal wailed, and streams of tears poured and poured from his bulbous, beady eyes. He threw himself on the hard floor and his delicate limbs flopped around. Poor Cal. Okay, look, it's only for one day. Elder Mother was using her special kind voice. If you can find something nice to say to the others for one day without thinking about your pretty warts, they will know that you are not that bad at all. Elder Mother negotiated. Mama, did they really call me self-absorbed and prideful? Tears gleamed like diamonds at the edges of Cal's eyes. Yes, they did, and I told them, no, Calvert. Our Cal, I told them, is a good young toad, and he is capable of seeing beyond his warts. But they do make me pretty, Cal muttered in a tiny little voice. Oh, so pretty, he muttered in a smaller voice, although it was only out of habit. Elder Mother stood up and straightened her back as though to indicate that the evening was over. Okay, Cal, prove them wrong. Go now and show them that you can see what is pretty in others too. I only took away your warts because you can think better without them warts distracting you. She was firm. All right, Cal sniffled and gathered his coat. He dragged himself out of the cottage. And I will get them back after they see how good I can be? Of course. Take good care of my warts, Mamma, he whined. I will. Chins up and don't slouch, Calvert Croakley. Elder Mother's voice boomed as she waved goodbye from the porch of the cottage. Calvert Croakley stopped and turned back. May I see them just once before I leave, Mamma? No, her voice was stern. You go now, Calvert Croakley, and let your friends know what you see that makes them unique and pretty too. When you do that, I promise that I will return your warts just as I took them from you as a lesson for your boastfulness. Elder Mother nodded reassuringly. A dejected Cal trod down the very same path he had hopped and skipped down only a few hours ago with a back full of pretty, pretty warts. Cal? He heard Elder Mother call out to him. Yes, Mamma? He turned around full of hope. Cal, remember that I love you. We all do, she whispered from her threshold. I know, he whispered back. With or without your pretty warts, she said without making the slightest sound and in a voiceless voice. But Cal had already turned his back to her and didn't hear her wordless words as he walked back to Jellicles' farm, sad and dejected after losing his warts and facing a looming task to complete in order to get his warts back. They made him pretty. Oh, so pretty. All the creatures that were hidden and witness to this exchange felt sorry for Cal, but they knew that this was necessary, for it was time for the toad to see others beyond his own pretty warts. Also, they were curious to know what Calvert Croakley might find unique and pretty about them. Aren't you curious too, dear reader?